Good morning. Welcome to Breakfast Central here on the brightest, I'd like to say, the most beautiful, and I can also say the most interesting
and most
television, impactful television program on TV, where we balance the equation and definitely look at the big stories first as it comes. In the meantime, don't worry, we're just two. We're supposed to be three musketeers, but the third musketeer, like we said yesterday, is on national assignment, and hopefully she will be back, sometime soon, but definitely before Monday. But welcome. My name is Joe Hansen.
And I'm Benga Borough. Welcome to the program. We have quite a lot for you today, as always. So sit back, relax, grab your cup of tea, coffee, akamu, whatever beverage you're having this morning, and join us on Breakfast Central.
I think with the economy now, I think going forward, you say grab your plate of akamu.
Yeah, and if you look at our montage, we have we give you healthy breakfast options. There's tea, there's
yam and
oats,
there's oats,
there's also akamu. So feel free to relax and enjoy the program this morning. Quite a lot that is happening in Nigeria, in Lagos, and across the Federation. As usual, on Breakfast Central, we always start with our wake-up conversations. Yes, the biggest stories that trended when the newspapers had gone to the publishers. They have to go to the prints, and they can't cover all the news. And news breaks at any time. There's sometimes that news breaks at 9 o'clock. For example, the former Prince Andrew, who is now known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, was released yesterday. He was the first royal to be arrested in 400 years. Imagine. Yeah, that's the level of immunity they have. But he was invited for questioning by the police, but he's been released. We'll bring you details of that. You could search the internet for details of that more. But let's come back home and start what we came here to do. Joe, what's the first wake-up conversation?
Well, the first wake-up conversation, Benga, is just the fact that we are calling, well, before we go on to the wake-up conversation, we're calling on the Minister of Power.
Yes.
It
has reached a critical level.
Minister of Power, we are in a critical stage and condition. We need you to look inwards and see what you can do with the chaotic power situation. It's really bad, and we think it's high time the Minister of Power
and the weather is not clement, so
no, it's not.
We really need power for other things. I mean, power is the silver bullet that would industrialize Nigeria and also power the economy.
That's what Dangote said.
I don't know why people don't see it that way, or why our leaders haven't given it the seriousness it deserves. You've been at the helms for almost 3 years, so it's enough time to know what the problem is, rejig, and let's know that we're making progress in a certain direction. We're working towards uninterrupted power supply in the country. Yeah.
Anyway, talking about power, let's start off with our very first story this morning on Wake Up Conversations. Don't forget, we're streaming on YouTube. We do not have the online coordinator of online services. That's Oliver, buddy, but let's see. Okay, comments. Feel free to drop your comments and let us know what you think about the topics, the show, and most importantly, every single thing we'll bring to you. But let's start off our wake-up conversation with this one. Another year, another rise in borrowing, and that's what Nigeria's Debt to International Development Association has revealed. If you just woke up this morning, we do not mean to spoil your day, but let's quickly tell you that according to the International Development Association, Nigeria's debt has climbed by $1.9 billion within a year, reaching $18.7 billion as of December 31, 2025. Now, newly released financial data shows the increase from $16.8 billion at the end of 2024, representing an 11.3% year-on-year growth and positioning Nigeria as the third largest borrower in the IDA portfolio. We are behind Bangladesh and Pakistan, who are the first and the second. This surge reflects continued project disbursement in key sectors such as health, where the health minister came out and said, I no see money, they no give me.
So you are wondering which health they're talking about.
Hey, you know, sometimes this story, we have to now break it down. Let's leave all the English. Let's calm down. Now, this increase, this surge, reflects continued project disbursement in key sectors. Health, we've mentioned. The second one, education. The third one, infrastructure. As Nigeria's federal government navigates tightening fiscal space and global market volatility.
Just hang on a bit. I mean, health.
Let me hang on. Let me help Nigerians understand.
Health, education, and infrastructure.
Yes.
And Nigerians are wondering where all this infrastructure.
Wait, let me help Nigerians
there's a lot
understand
of
this.
Quite a number of construction projects happening in different pockets of but the main one that Nigerians feel is gulping a lot of money.
Lagos.
I mean, dollars. Huge amounts. It's a legacy project. It's a mega project. It's the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway.
So that's
Nigerians have suggested that now, if you are seeking medical help or medical treatment, go to Coastal Road. So maybe now, if you want to get education, you can also go to Coastal Road so they can remove some of that money. Or maybe they have things on the Coastal Road that will educate you and replenish your health.
Let's start by helping Nigerians understand what the International Development Association is.
Yes.
Now, just to help you, International Association actually is
the World Bank.
Is the World Bank. It's part of the World Bank, okay? And it focuses on basically helping low-income countries. It helps them, you know. In other words, what it does is it's like a complement to the World Bank, and it also assists countries when it comes to, you know, managing their funds, ensuring that they manage their debts, and they go ahead to, you know, advise while you try to borrow. They put everything together. So now they have come out. This was yesterday's breaking story. They've said, Nigeria, you guys are number 3 now
in the world.
In the world. Una de borrow pieces. Okay? And you are behind Bangladesh and Pakistan. Now, why is this a big story? Well, it is a big story because let's share this with you.
Vis-a-vis the budget performance, budget defense of last week that we're still witnessing, and a lot of ministries and MDAs are saying
they've not received anything.
Have not been dispersed.
Have you seen the Interior Minister Gbenga yesterday?
He said 0.
Interior Minister said he has received 0
for the capital project component of the
0. Odo. O. This morning I woke up maybe I woke up on a brighter side this morning. I think I have more energy to shout this morning. So let me shout and release all the energy. But serious, 0 between 2004 and 2005. Nothing. Nothing. We've seen the health minister, we've seen agriculture saying they didn't give me anything. No. So one is wondering, why are the ministers rushing out to speak now? Why are they coming out? Why didn't they come out since? They're not coming out. No, nothing touched us. So we did not see anything. No. We have a problem at hand. We are borrowing, and we're not seeing the impact. That's where we are, Gbenga.
Yeah, and it's really, really sad because we still have to pay back those debts one way or the other.
Oh yes, you have to pay. So
it's better we use it for what we're borrowing for. So it's an investment. And there's nothing bad in borrowing as it is. It's what value.
What you use it for.
What you use it for. What value it brings to the people. So really, really.
Just for context, let me also highlight, based on Nigeria's debt management office, we decided to go to the debt management office in Nigeria. Let's give you some numbers. Nigeria's public debt rose from 87.4 trillion naira in June 2023. Okay? It rose from there, where it was, to 152.4 trillion naira in June 2025. There was a net increase of over 65 trillion naira. So
in one
2023,
administration.
one administration has borrowed
Half of that administration's lifespan.
half of that other administration
of a 4-year
of
term.
Former late President Muhammadu Buhari's term. This administration borrowed it.
Borrowed what Buhari borrowed in 8 years.
It borrowed it in 2 years. That's not all. It didn't stop there. Oh.
That's to give you some context.
Okay. Now, they said, okay, there was USD value, Naira to dollar fell, so it became a problem. Now, the new borrowings include $6.45 billion from World Bank in 2024 and 21.5 billion naira approved for 2025-2026. Estimates suggest over 50 trillion naira in total new loans by late 2025. So what we're saying here is, just to add, what we're saying here is, this report just highlights what from 2025. By the time we get to 2026, it's not out yet. We don't have the data for that. 2026, maybe mid-year, then we'll now know.
But the question is, and it would be nice to speak to the experts, is it sustainable? How do we plan to pay back? What are the terms of the loan? Are they attached to conditionalities? What are these loans? What would they be used for? These are questions
Should I answer your
that deserve
question,
answers.
Should I answer your question? I'll direct everybody to the Premium Times newspaper of 2 weeks ago, where the Premium Times, we must give kudos to our colleagues, have consistently promoted that article, and it keeps popping up on my timeline, stating clearly that over 400 and something projects that have been marked, 90 something are already in comatose. The monies are there, but they've not existed. There's still money being pumped into Ajaokuta still till today. So I'm trying to help you see where these. So
it's
till today,
it's still wastage, a lot of wastage.
Let's not even go far. Let's wrap this up before we go to what Nigerians are saying, if we have that up. The minister came out, I'm talking about Wale Edu, 2 weeks ago, do you recall, we're here, and said Nigeria needs to stop borrowing.
And I remember saying, why is he addressing us? You should talk to his people.
Tell your people now. Are you not the one there? Tell them to stop. So if a coordinating minister of finance
can raise the alarm,
that, we have to stop borrowing, this thing, we don't understand, and then other ministers of ministries and, of course, MDAs and so on are coming to say, we've not seen money. The money we only got is a paltry sum. We'll leave the rest to Nigerians. Okay, you decide. But let's see what Nigerians are saying if we have that up concerning this story. Nigeria's World Bank debt increasing. Let me take this, then maybe I'll handle the next story quickly. Damio says, if the total cost is $18.7 billion and we divide that by Nigeria's population of about 220 million people, each person, including the person watching this screen now, each person's share comes to just $85. Patriotism is about responsibility. It starts with me and you. We should pay on behalf of Nigeria. Can you imagine? This guy is sarcastic. He said we should start gathering $85 each to pay back. Wahala, the Wahala boy says, spending billions to strengthen Naira just for campaign fodder. Keep your dollars close, because the way the Naira will collapse after the elections, you won't believe your eyes. That's what the Wahala boy says. This one, Finance Nomad says, so Nigeria has $48.5 billion in reserves and $18.7 billion in foreign debts. Effectively, disposable net reserves is $29.8 billion. I hope you know how he got that. He just minused the 18.7 from the 48.5, and what you now have as disposable net is 29.8 billion naira. Nigeria is currently net solvent because its 48.5 billion naira reserves now exceeds its 40 can I see that? 46.9 billion naira total external debt. Analyzing the liquidity, what it says is it's a kind of ratio, 1.03 to 1. This implies government can pay off its foreign debts immediately and will be debt-free in that context. $48.5 reserves provides import cover of 10 months, far and above international average of 3 months. Nigeria's import FX requirement is about $3.8 billion, minus 4.2 billion. That's 3.8 to 4.2 billion dollars. Number 3, credit rating would improve. Government need to cut down on its borrowings in any case. It's bringing down on available reserves. So
what is basically saying is
finance number has done. He's telling you, listen,
they have the leeway to.
They have a way to manage this now, because if they look at what they have, especially from the
external,
from the reserves,
from
the reserves, they'll be able to quell the situation quickly and manage the finances. But will they do so?
And it's still alarming.
Exactly.
And they're still
it's still alarming. Whether they like it, because the World Bank has said it. Hey, you need to watch it. Interesting moments. After all, our debt to GDP ratio is still sustainable. They keep saying, after all, our debt to GDP ratio is still sustainable. No one questioned what the debt was used for. I think that's the key point of this conversation. Ideally, debt should be self-liquidating if properly used or invested in projects that have the capability to generate returns on projects or infrastructures that have the capability to improve life or improve economic activities. What exactly did we do with the debt? That's the question they are asking. Another one says, Tate Michael says, our foreign reserve has grown. No need to talk about our debts. We are good. Oh, really? Okay. Ademola says, that's the irony. Clearing past debt was supposed to reduce future borrowing pressure, which is not up to this. Yet Nigeria's debt to the World Bank has now climbed to $18.7 billion. Instead of building a stronger revenue base after debt relief, the country has slipped back into heavy dependence on loans from the World Bank. It raises a serious question. What was the long-term plan after clearing the previous debt if borrowing would just keep rising again? Borrowing isn't the problem on its own. Borrowing isn't a problem on its own. Recycling debt without fixing revenue, productivity, and economic structure is the real issue. Otherwise, it becomes a cycle of clearing debt today and accumulating even more tomorrow. And pretty much that's what we see. Bega, I mean, I leave the floor to you.
Well, I mean, the Nigerians have said it all. We need to be fiscally disciplined, and also there needs to be some transparency. It would be nice for the Ministry of Finance and National Orientation Agency to carry Nigerians along and let them know that these are key projects that we're borrowing for, and we're not just borrowing for nothing. They should carry Nigeria, because as Nigerian taxpayers, they're still going to pay this monies at the end of the day. So it's very important that they're carried along and there's some level of accountability. And also, like Joe said, the coordinating minister of the economy has sounded the alarm on the level of borrowing, and others are saying, look, even though your debt to GDP ratio still looks good, even though you have a good reserve to cushion the effects, you still need to be fiscally disciplined and, you know, pull the brakes on borrowing. But let's move on to other matters on Breakfast Central this morning. A trending video is fueling public anger and prompting citizens, particularly citizens of Akwa Ibom State, to demand accountability after footage emerged showing pupils of a purported government primary school in Ikot and Bonde, Uyo, learning in visibly poor conditions with several children seated and lying on bare classroom floors. The video, which began circulating on Friday, highlights sparse furniture, deteriorating facilities, and teachers without basic desks. And a narrator questions the state of public education and the impact on people's dignity and learning outcomes. The development comes amid recent announcements by Governor Umoena of plans to develop a multi-billion naira housing estate in Abuja, a move many Nigerians argue contrasts sharply with the conditions seen in the footage. The situation has intensified calls for urgent clarification and intervention from the state authorities as citizens seek answers on funding priorities and the commitment to improving foundational education infrastructure. Let's take a listen to the video.
We are here in primary school in Bonde, All School Road, here in Uyo. Look at what the children are passing through. This is the chalkboard. The children in school, look at them here. And our governor is busy telling us that he wants to go and build housing in Abuja. estates. But here in the state, we have less privilege. That he would have looked into it and see how to help these people out. Look at the children here in school. Look at them. Look at what is happening. This is Akwa Ibom State. The state. Anybody that is going to send this video should send it to mine or directly. Let him come down here and help these children. These are our future generations being suffering. They are all suffering because of teachers. Teachers, look at the teacher here. Look at teacher here. No table, nothing. Look at the ceiling. Look at the whole place, how it is. It's a shame. A shame to a state.
A shame, an absolute shame, and words really, really fail me. This is so heartbreaking to watch on a Monday, on a Friday morning, especially coming from an oil-producing state. So you know that the resources is not the problem. The problem is prioritizing what you should do first. I mean, these are children, and it's no crime. I mean, the family you're born into is part of the lottery of life. But I mean, that you happen to be born in Nigeria should not be a life sentence of, you know, setting you up for failure in life. No kid can learn in that condition, in those conditions, and be complete as a child. I mean, the facilities are not there. You can see the teacher, even the teacher is depressed. And I mean, coming from Akwa Ibom, it's really, really sad, because if you look at the projects that Akwa Ibom state government has embarked on in the last few years, mega projects, you're wondering, you think they would have taken care of this low-hanging fruits of education, healthcare, that benefit majority of the population, but that's such a sorry state. And we know what's going to happen is that they will victimize the lady that made that video and say, we are trying to embarrass the state. I wouldn't be surprised if she's even arrested, because we've seen these things play out in Nigeria.
Remember Benin? The guy that talked about the bad roads.
Benin, Niger State, many places. Yeah. Ogun State.
And look at, Akwa Ibom is amongst the top 10 oil-producing states in Nigeria. When it comes to daily crude oil output. It's
heartbreaking. You know, I would yield the floor to you because it's your home state. You're very passionate about what happens in Akwa Ibom.
Benga, it's sad. I mean, when I saw that video, I just said to myself, which way? Nigeria, which is a feature, a regular feature here on Breakfast Central. What's the way forward? You know, back then they used to say the children are the future of tomorrow. But with every day that comes, every sun that shines, every morning that you wake up, you come to ask yourself, are they really the future of tomorrow? But when you have your children, you look at them sometimes and you wonder why people say, no, I have to leave this country. Because it seems like the country is not prioritizing taking care of the future of tomorrow. Maybe those at the top think that they're going to live forever. They think they have...
Maybe.
You know, I always think that. Maybe they feel, oh, you know what? I'm going to live forever.
Because how do you justify their behavior?
Everything.
Was it not Akwa Ibom that built this gigantic, futuristic church?
Of course.
Recently, that spent millions of dollars.
The stadium, and this is where the Senate president is from.
Yes.
So you'd expect, this is one of the highest oil-producing states. So you'd expect that by now, I mean, kudos to some of the previous governors who took time to work on infrastructure, the roads, to ensure that there were multiple roads, the places calm, you find beautiful scenery. Yes. They worked on trying to keep it neat. Of course, like I always say, Nigerians are Nigeria's problem sometimes because people will still go and mess the place up. But when it comes to education, Benga, do you remember our first story? That monies are borrowed for what? Health, education, infrastructure. You see? Can you see
where's the education part?
So you're wondering what is going on.
And when you juxtapose Akwa Ibom with what Professor Babagana Zulum is doing in Borno State, the model schools.
The model schools.
It's almost like light and day. And this is, they get 13% derivation fund. It's an oil-producing state. The more reason why we
You
should
even do more.
continue. And we're not just going to let this go. We'll reach out to the Commissioner of Education in
Yeah, I
Akwa
mean,
Ibom State
we do have his contact.
and government
Even the commissioner
officials
in Akwa Ibom.
to speak on this.
Yes, we need to know what's really going on, but it's a sad one. In that video, the lady said in a dialect that after people would say we shouldn't talk about the government, but that she can't hold it anymore. She did that the governor should come by himself and see,
yes,
so that he will understand.
After all, he's a pastor.
Yes, let him come by himself and see. Listen, as we move to our next story, let's also highlight that while we're here as journalists and look at some of these stories, we want to mention that it is very important, especially for those who are at the forefront, to create an enabling environment for people to thrive. That's just what everybody's asking for. And that's what Dangote had highlighted just a few days ago. He had said that, listen, if there's no power, even the smallest of the smallest businesses, like the small, medium enterprises, will not survive or succeed. They will have a lifespan and they are gone. And I still remember the story or the pep talks you listened to where people said during their time, I mean, you have big names that were mentioned today, from Aliko Dangote to Tony Elumelu, to you can name them. How were they so opportune to become what they are today? Because like they told us, people had set the platform for them and gave them an enabling environment. Today, you and I, Benga.
I mean, and this is level, this is the foundation.
This is the
Once
foundation.
you get it wrong, no, it should be a crime against humanity.
Anyway, I don't know if we've taken what Nigerians are saying.
But let's take what Nigerians are saying
let's take
on this topic. Ukemi says, the government has failed, and I'm not a fan of enough, but let's be factual. Primary education is under the jurisdiction of local governments, though state governments intervenes. We need to know the name of the local government chairman, State House of Assembly member. Call them out. Let them hurriedly do something. It's shameful, Ukemi says. And this is the richest state in Nigeria with a population of about 5 million people, collectively collected roughly 2.5 trillion revenue within 32 months, budgeted barely 2% for education, which has no reflection in the schools because you already know this is not the devil at work, it's their leaders, says Ansco. Santa says an oil-producing state governed by an anointed man of God, and he cries. Peter says this is a state rich in crude oil, the same oil the Gulf states have. The devil must be a Nigerian politician. Wow, I didn't know you conducted census. Ria says it's not religion with titleship, it's about the individual. See pastor work for Akwa Ibom. See Reverend Father work rate for Benue State. Both of them can make you ask whether or not church people will do so. Interesting.
Very sad. Benga, let's go to YouTube now. Mokwe Chukwemeka, good morning. Good morning, guys. Morning, Mokwe says, good morning, Team News Central. We also have Neji Nan says, good morning. Good morning, too. Chukwemeka says, government don't prioritize the most important things. Look at the school in Akwa Ibom. When you go around the 36 states, you will see rots like this. Sad one. Today is his 5th wedding anniversary. Woo!
Happy anniversary, Mokwe Chukwemeka.
Happy
we wish you a long life
right.
of bliss and happiness.
Happy anniversary, you know. Say hi to your wife for us. Tell her the team of Breakfast Central and News Central are greeting her especially. He also says they will victimize the teacher also. Should be the one to produce the lady who did the video.
Absolutely.
So let's wait and see. Please, we're using this platform to speak to the lady who made that video. Should you be victimized, please feel free to reach out to us here at News Central the best way possible. And we'll be more than happy to spotlight.
I mean, I am going to do a
victimization.
deep dive, like somebody mentioned, the representative of that local government, the chairman, the member representing that constituency. Everybody needs to account for, they need to say why the schools are in that condition, and everyone needs to feel the heat. I hope, I know Akwa Ibom government is very sensitive to its reputation, so they wouldn't like this bad press. So if you don't like it, do something about it. And standardize the schools in the states.
You know, the thing that makes a good leadership are the people that surround you. If you have good people who work hard, who adhere to what each and every, what the tenets of, procedures simply are, then success is just around the corner.
Very
so
true.
while we're talking to the governor, we're also using the medium to say the governor should also talk to the local government
them,
and so on. Let's bring to you our top stories for today. Let's see what the headlines are saying as we begin Breakfast Central on a Friday morning. Today on Breakfast Central, INEC excludes PDP, ADC, LP from River State by-elections. People saying, Azal now. Well, we'll find out. INEC finalizes preparations ahead of FCT polls. The team at News Central will be bringing to you live coverage of that entire event. INEC security CSOs fine-tune plans. They also seek transparency, and they'll be applying the newly amended, act. Analyzing Nigeria's poor healthcare facilities, one conversation we're going to have, even though they say monies are going there and the newspaper front pages too. Stay here. This is Breakfast Central on a Friday.
Yeah, welcome back to Breakfast Central. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is putting the finishing touches on preparations ahead of the upcoming Federal Capital Territory Area Council elections. The poll scheduled as part of a series of state by-elections and test of the 2026 Electoral Act amendments are closely watched as a barometer for the success of recent reforms. INEC officials say logistical arrangements, training of ad hoc staff, voter education campaigns, and deployment of sensitive election materials and now in the final stages ahead of voters heading to the polls in the nation's capital, Abuja.
Now, this exercise will also serve as a critical test run for provisions in the 2026 Electoral Act, including improved result transmission methods and other procedural updates designed to enhance transparency and credibility. Well, it is said that the results will be transmitted, but not in real time. INEC had earlier debunked reports suggesting that results for the February 21 FCT Area Council elections will be transmitted in real time. As preparations intensify, by the way, both political parties and civil society groups are calling on authorities and security agencies to ensure a peaceful, transparent, and credible election that reflects the will of FCT residents. Let's start off this conversation and also to mention that the News Central team will be bringing to you blow-by-blow and beat-by-beat account of the election starting off from today. But here on Breakfast Central, we have joining us concerning the elections, a policy development specialist, Paul James, joins us this morning. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome to Breakfast Central.
Thank you very much and good morning.
Good morning. INEC is in the news. Now it says it has completed logistical arrangements and staff training. I mean, we've seen pictures all over the place where the INEC boss, Joash Amukwitan, has spoken to the civil society organizations, not forgetting to political party members, especially about peace and ensuring a free-flow election. Now, how confident do you think Nigerians can be at this point, knowing fully well that materials, personnel will be deployed early and efficiently, especially on election day?
Well, I can only say we will hold INEC by their words when we voters go out tomorrow and maybe don't see what INEC had promised voters, because this is based off our lessons in the past. In the February 2022 FCT elections, what we observed was, especially in the Area 10 axis of the city, was that in the morning of the election, some INEC officials did not deploy, probably because they were substituted the night in the eve of the election, and also even the ones that were substituted did not clearly know where they were supposed to deploy to. Or even in the morning of the elections, where we saw transporters were still struggling to locate locations of polling units or where to how to even transport INEC officials to those locations. So, I mean, for elections, we want to compare the previous with the subsequent. So we hope that INEC have also taken lessons from the Abuja election, because often, if you also go back to election history, you see that elections in Abuja have often been challenging, whether because it is just behind or at the doorstep of INEC, and so things are left to chance. But I'm also hoping that this will be a litmus test for Professor Joash, especially given that this is the first election that will be conducted under his leadership. The last election in Anambra was just after he had been installed as the INEC chairman. So we hope to see that INEC will not disappoint Nigerians. An election will go unhindered. We also had observed the last time, FCT election last time was the first time INEC was also migrating to the use of beavers. There were persons that had issues with even getting their details codified on the beavers. I also suffered that fate where I couldn't also vote in the elections in 2022. So we will also hope, again, as voters, that all of this improvement have been done and that people can vote their preference tomorrow in the elections.
Now, Mr. Paul James, you've highlighted some of the problems that we've had in the past, and many Nigerians would also be looking forward to the conduct of the polls, like you said, a litmus test following the brand new Electoral Act. But let's talk about the litmus test. Are the council polls, are they big enough to test the renewed vigor or competence of Professor Joash Amopita, looking at the skill, or maybe we should wait for off-cycle elections in Osun State and Osun and also Ekiti State to decide, if Professor Joash, to know what to expect in 2027?
I think this will be a big test for INEC, especially because if you look at the number of registered voters and the number of PVCs collected, over 1,600 registered voters, over 1.5 million PVCs collected. That is in the region of over 96-97%. And also the level of political education, voter education, civic awareness that had happened, especially in the last 2 months, and the kind of interest that the elections has also generated. We see some of these frontline political parties, how they had mobilized citizens in the last couple of weeks, and also the sort of commitment we've also seen from some of the political leaders, especially as they throw up support to the candidates in the election. So with the kind of interest, of course, that it is generating, you expect that every election stakeholder or every enthusiast will want to beam their searchlight on the election as a test case. Like I said, Osun is not far. Osun is barely like 2-3 months from 2-3 months from now. So of course you want to see that INEC put its best foot forward, but especially also that within the available parameters of the law, that there is compliance from INEC, and also that the citizens are able to, one, locate their polling units, which is very critical, because if we remember the last time, INEC also did some expansion just before the 2023 election. So we hope that there has been enough voter information for citizens to know how to locate their polling unit, and also on the part of the commission that based on the provisions of the new electoral act, or given also that they are operating with the old act, which not much difference, that there will be full compliance from the polling unit staff that will be deployed on February 21st.
Okay, let's look at security. Security is always a key concern. What coordination do you think is happening between INEC and security agencies to ensure peaceful elections in the FCT starting tomorrow? But bear in mind that the FCT minister has declared today a work-free day, and he says movement will cease from 8 p.m. Do you think this will help to curb any form of insecurity? That's question number one. I want you to look into that. And then my second question in line with that would be, we've always seen security become a major pain in the neck, especially in our elections. Could this also be a test to see how the security agencies will be able to handle it?
Well, my response to this will be the sort of episodic engagement to some of these issues, especially when they are around elections. Security concerns in the FCT have been going on for a while, and then now going close to the election, you're beginning to hear these measures like curfew starting from 8 p.m. and all of that. While, I mean, in some sense, that gives people some sense that the government is watching and government is doing something about it, you also will have expected that there have been some build-up, especially in the security, in containing the security concerns as we approach the elections. We've followed followed political campaigns very closely. We've heard some of the candidates making commitment or making promises to addressing neighborhood security concerns or addressing security issues. And then you begin to wonder, to what extent do they even understand the security dynamics or the security challenges of the FCT? But also I understand that would also supposed to happen, in close quarters with the security agency security personnel, but the expectation is that the election is already before us, and then I will expect that the security will have done all of this its mapping, all of the profiling before the election, and then deployment will also be total to all of the polling stations, because sometimes what we get to see is that it is some of the government establishment that get to have more security people deployed than even the polling station or polling unit. So I expect that every polling unit would at least have some sort of sense of security deployment, not also just deployment, that they are also there to provide the kind of care that is expected, and that deployment will also be early. We have seen instances in the past also where INEC will deploy but will not start because they are waiting upon the security officials to arrive. So we will hope that there has been this close coordination between INEC and the security agencies, that they will deploy together from the racks to the polling units, and not necessarily that INEC will arrive and be waiting for security officials to arrive. This will be a big confidence booster for the citizens as they go into the election, especially what is going to happen 24 hours before the election. My sense is that there might be some sort of last-minute security check today or some security briefing today that will provide that assurance. We hope that security will stay by their words, and not also to come tomorrow the morning of the election, you see security doing parade before they deploy to the polling units. Whatever parade that needs to happen, whatever briefing that needs to happen, we hope that will happen tonight so that elections can commence as early as INEC has promised Nigerians.
Now, I want to follow up, Mr. James, on this issue of curfew and, security briefings. This is our 25th uninterrupted, this is the 25th year of our uninterrupted democratic experience, and 25 years is a long time to improve your election systems, to, deal with logistical issues, because you should be learning from your past experiences. In our neighboring countries like Ghana, for example, election day is not a public holiday. You vote and you go about your business, and that's done in many parts of the world. Why is it that when it comes to elections in Nigeria, that there's this palpable tension? Today is Friday. There are businesses in Abuja that make a lot of income from the Friday night economy, and you're imposing a curfew when we're not in a state of war because of elections. We're always so quick to say that, the Ondo State Police Command has deployed 50,000 policemen to monitor the elections. Is it that Nigerians don't know how to conduct themselves in a civil manner? Elections are a civil exercise. You go about very peaceful. You go about choosing your candidates. But why is it that after 25 years, we haven't made so much progress in that? There has to be this tension. You have to stop movement of people and, deploy battalions and what have you. Why are we not making progress on this front? Even though we've introduced technology, BVAS, e-transmission and what have you.
Unfortunately, I'm also as concerned as you, to be honest, that I have observed a lot of elections across Africa, and then election day happen, you don't even hear any views from anybody. You go about your business, you just go vote and you go back. And I've seen also places where citizens go to even sleep at the polling units. Places like in Zambia, for instance, you see people going as early as 2 a.m. to polling units to just wait till the morning of the election to go vote and go back. And then everybody goes about their business. Or even places where you see materials are given to officials the night before the election. These materials sleep in their houses, and then they move with the materials at the morning of the election to the polling station. Now, it's the level of trust in the country, one, that is still a big challenge. Number two, also, the way and manner in which politicians go about heightening the the security issues around the elections. For me, to be honest, sometimes I feel like as much as we talk about weaponization of poverty around our election, I also feel sometimes that security is also weaponized around election, because sometimes by the time they are able to put so much fear in the minds of the people, then of course people may have a mind change about going out to participate in the election on the election day. And sometimes it's when people don't go out to vote that manipulation in most times happens. So my fear is that there is always this idea of weaponization of security issues in the country. We've also heard in the past utterances from politicians where they will tell you election is a do or die affair. So we need to move away from that mindset first. And also, even in the security deployment, you also need honest conversation with the security agencies around the deployment. Sometimes you go to the field and you begin to ask yourself, where is these numbers that was paraded? Do they truly exist? So the way all of this is hyped, before election, you also see some zones that politicians will tell you, or analysts will tell you, are red zones. Election day will happen, and you feel almost like nothing had happened in those places. We've seen state elections that people will have a lot of projections before the election that may not even be election in those states, and election day will come, and those elections will get to happen. So my point is the fact that we need a lot of political education around it, and also for the security agencies to start engagement around electoral security earlier before the elections. When the security agencies want to do show of force, most times this show of force happens just a week before election. And in the build-up to the election, you'll be hearing issues about kidnapping, all sort of criminality happening around those vicinities, and then you almost will not hear of any arrests or anything done to apprehend or to stop those things from happening. So again, like I said, we need a lot of confidence building approaches as we go into elections, but importantly also, as arrests are made or as the security is instituting any sort of measures to forestall that, you need also a lot of public communication around what the security is doing, and that is where you build people's confidence to continue to engage the process.
All right. I mean, it's much more like you've given them a TED talk, or I would say a masterclass on how this can be done, and also some of the issues that we hear, especially leading to the elections. But with the recent controversies, which I am sure you are aware of result transmission and technology in past elections. Oh, no, it should have been uploaded in the IREV. Oh, no, why is it that we don't see the results anymore? There have been mutilated papers and so on and so forth. Do you think, I mean, in all honesty, do you think that the FCT polls this weekend will help restore faith in electronic processes? And what way can Professor George Amukwita-led INEC prove to Nigerians that it's a definitely new dawn and a new day?
First off, why you see this is generating much attention is that people wanted a legal recognition to electronic transmission. There's been a lot of nuances around it, especially given what the commission had done in the past. Recall in 2019, when PDP was saying, open your server and all of that. It was because there was even an attempt by the commission to do transmission in 2019. But again, the commission at that point said they were using it for their own learning processes. Building from 2020 through 2022, there have been a lot of transmission, or if you like, upload, as the commission would like to call it. But in the minds of Nigerians, we know it is transmission. What does that simply mean? What we are doing is not, in a sense, a full-fledged electronic voting. Given, okay, that, for instance, we use beavers to accredit voters, that is electronic. Of course, after that, also the expectation is that the INEC official will take a snapshot of the Form EC8A and then upload on the INEC election results being portal. All Nigerians are asking is that give legal recognition to this process, because if you see what had happened in the past, that you might even go on some of the portal and you see results that are not reflective of what has transpired at the polling unit level. What the new guideline has done is to mandate INEC, one, to do the upload. Number two, there is now punitive measures for INEC officials, especially where the results that are uploaded online does not correspond to the one that were released, at the polling unit. Because don't forget, at the polling unit level, INEC officials will get to issue copies of these resources to political party agents as well as also to security. There is also the Form EC60E that is pasted at the polling unit level for the public to see. So you want to see that there is a correspondence between what has happened at the polling unit and what is uploaded online. So again, for this election, what will be the expectation? That the forms that are posted online by INEC are from EC8As. Sometimes you even go online and you see that the forms posted as probably some piece of paper or some papers that does not even have any connection with from EC8A. Just so you want to avoid all these legal challenges at the end of the election. And again, like I said, if you check the success rate of the uploads of results over the last couple of elections, even from 2022, even in the 2023 election, success rate has been in the region of 95, 97, 98%. So this is something that INEC has been experimenting for a long time, in fact, as far back as 2018. And so getting that in our electoral law now, for instance, like I said, just attract more public attention, more public scrutiny, and also the need for INEC to do what is right by Nigerians.
Now, finally, Mr. Paul James, before we let you go, I recall when we started this conversation, you did talk about the positives of the Abuja Council polls, the number of people that are interested in this, the number of PVCs collected. And my question is to the interest that it's generating. I'm not sure in recent memory if we've had any FCT Council polls that have generated such a buzz that political gladiators and heavyweights have dug in this fight. We've seen presidential candidates, former presidential candidates, endorse candidates in this upcoming polls. We've also seen the FCT minister speak tough on the elections. Is it a good thing that it's generating all this, buzz and excitement? And what should Nigerians really look out for when assessing the conduct of the elections that will be held tomorrow?
I think for me, it's a good sign that people are not paying interest to, if we like, local level elections. Abuja could be placed as a quasi-state, not a full state, but of course not also a local government, because, as we know, this is the only election that INEC is conducting. At the state level, elections, the local government elections are conducted by State Independent Electoral Commission. So that in itself should tell us something. Not that Abuja is more important than other states, but for some reasons, for the wisdom of the crafters of our constitution, it is now mandated that INEC manages this election. For me, I like the interest that it is generating, and I hope we can also apply the same interest when it comes to other local level elections. And what are we seeing or getting from this election? A lot of the conversations around election, especially around political discourse, are issues around infrastructure, security, maternal health care, unemployment. If you look through all the political campaigns, they have been centered around that. What does that tell you? That even around the seat of power, the same challenge that confronts Nigerians across the country, Abuja also faces the same challenge. Maybe this will also bring interest, shift interest to the issues of governance, and for the people that will be elected to know that Nigerians are watching, and hopefully that by the time they get elected, they will get to do what is right this time around. If you follow campaigns across local government, you will see that to some extent, the candidates truly understand what are tangible, and the tangible needs of those communities. In places like Kwali, for instance, you hear candidates saying things like they want to focus on maternal health care or providing free antenatal, or places like Abaji, you hear people talking about infrastructural deficit, things like even markets, unfortunately, or like recreational hubs for young people, or even in Amak, that is the seat of power in the center of Abuja, candidates are talking about neighborhood security, or talking about the issue of maternal health care, so primary health care. So to tell you, these issues confront us every day, that confronts us every day, are similar to what the people of Abuja also face. And we hope also that they will keep true to their words, and when they get elected, that they will really see how they will address this issue. Just for me to also conclude is to also encourage inclusion, especially in the process, because if you look at the list and profile of the candidates that will be participating in the election, unfortunately, we don't seem to have much women as would have been expected. Over 500 candidates are contesting for councillorship. Only 50 are women. Over 60 candidates are contesting for the chairmanship. Only 5 are women. Over 45 or thereabout are contesting for vice chairmanship position. Only about 11 are women. But again, I will say women or other marginalized communities should not be discouraged. See how they can be part and be counted in the process. And maybe it is true that they will begin to have their voices heard in the process, and also begin to do push for those kind of change that they want to see in the process.
Thank you so much for your insights and your time, Mr. Paul James, Elections and Policy Development Specialist. We do appreciate your time and insights with us on Breakfast.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, let's move away now to another story very quickly, telling you that the Department of State Services has closed its case against 5 defendants standing trial over the 2022 attack on the St. Francis Catholic Church in Owo, Ondo State. The prosecution team, led by Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Ayodiji Adidikpe, concluded its case after presenting its 11th witness, condemned codename, SSK. The witness, a digital forensic with the DSS Counter-Terrorism Department, testified to the court that investigators applied geospatial network filtering and cell towering triangulation techniques, narrowing thousands of mobile phone records to that of the first defendant, Idris Omeza, which led to his arrest. Well, let's also tell you that he actually further testified that forensic analysis revealed frequent communication between the first defendant and other co-defendants before and after the attack, establishing what he described as a pattern of association. After the prosecution formally closed its case, Justice Emeka Nwite adjourned proceedings to the 4th and 5th of March 2026 for the defense to open its case. Take a look.
We called 11 witnesses, and if some of you were in the court, I believe you must have listened to their testimonies. All I can tell you is that we are satisfied. We are not the one to determine the case, and the defendants still have the opportunity to defend themselves in the court. Thereafter, the judge will determine the case. So we are good.
I have a case, of course. I have a case, of course. You could, if you are in the court, I told you that the statement presented, we are not from here. So, and this one was from Akure, and they say they don't have any statement in Akure. No problem. No problem. We open defense.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has met with crucial stakeholders ahead of Saturday's FCT Area Council election. The meeting brought together security agencies, media representatives, civil society organizations and political party leaders to fine-tune preparations and address key concerns before Election Day. News Central's correspondent Blessing Ahibe compiled this report.
It was a gathering of critical actors in the electoral process, security agencies, civil society organizations and the media, all aimed at ensuring a credible poll in the Federal Capital Territory. The Independent National Electoral Commission says that all is set for the February 21 Area Council election across the FCT.
On Saturday, 21st February 2026, over 1.6 million registered voters across the 2,822 polling units will make their choice. Our collective duty is to ensure that their votes are cast freely, counted accurately, and reflected transparently.
Today, we are also displaying the register at the polling units to enable people identify their polling units, because it's a challenge that we have identified due to the migration of voters during the 2022 election. So now we are publishing the register at the PUs days before the election to enable voters identify their particular PUs ahead of Saturday.
Security agencies promised adequate deployment, while civil society groups demanded full observer access to collation centers for transparency.
We have deployed massively. When I say massively, I mean we have deployed very massively. One, to the polling units. Each polling unit will have reasonable number of security agencies, monitoring agents, monitoring activities at the polling units. We will work together with INEC to have the materials deployed to those locations on that day.
Grant access to accredited observers and party agents to the ward collation centers, because that's what the guidelines and the law says. When you prevent people from accessing the ward collation centers, it creates room for suspicion. And that's what has happened in previous elections.
All eyes now turn to Saturday's poll as over 1 million voters prepare to decide the future leadership of the FCT Area Councils.
So the countdown is on. It's just tomorrow, and you can bet on News Central to give you an incisive coverage of the elections.
Blow by blow.
Blow by blow, beat by beat, you know, eye for eye, nose for nose, you name it. But we have one man who has been covering the elections as well, not just the elections, the Green Chamber, and he's been back and forth. Idong Joseph joins us all the way from the Federal Capital Territory. Perfect location, perfect scenery. Idong, good morning. Can you quickly highlight what is really happening in Abuja? We do hear that the FCT minister has declared today a work-free day. Unfortunately, you have to work, just like we are working. Why won't you work? Eh?
Are you a civil servant?
You're a civil servant. Or the current statements. As how now? You know. Anyway, tell us what's going on in Abuja.
Okay, let me start from that. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory declared a Friday work-free day. Though that memo came out very late, and I believe most civil servants in the Federal Capital Territory would have gotten the information and would be at home. And in addition to that, also, he placed a restriction on movement starting from 8 p.m. tonight till 6 p.m. tomorrow to enable voters go out and exercise their civic responsibility. And beyond that, on the INEC side, now INEC has commenced deployment of election materials. Yesterday, it's deployed sensitive materials from the CBN office to the 6 area councils. So by this time, all sensitive materials are already at the area council, Gwagwalada, Abaji, Kuje, Buari, and even in Amak, where I am currently. And by today, we are expecting that those materials will be deployed to the rack centers, which are close to all polling units. And so from 8 a.m., before 8 a.m., all materials from the rack centers will also be deployed to the polling units for an election to commence tomorrow. And according to what INEC has said, they said they will do all they can to ensure that the election commences at 8:30 a.m., which is the official election time, and that all materials, even their personnel who are supposed to work at these polling units, will also they will also ensure that they get to the rack centers today, latest by evening time, so that by morning, very early in the morning, they and the materials will be moved to the polling unit. And of course, to let you know that all the polling paper, ballot papers, and also the election results sheet have been coded in colors to ensure that once you are in Amak Area Council, the paper, the ballot paper you're going to be using to vote is different from whoever is in Buari Area Council trying to cast his vote. So you won't take the ballot paper from Amak to Buari or to Gwagwalada. So they have been coded. And INEC have said this is to ensure that there's no manipulation in the results at the end of the collation, and also in vote casting. So for now, that is the update. And just like the report you saw earlier, the police also have made deployments. I think about 14,000 officers from the police and the civil defense have all been deployed already to the 6 area councils to ensure that citizens feel safe in going out and casting their votes. So that is all I can give you for now.
Yeah. Now, Idong, before we let you go, let's talk about the people, the residents of Abuja. What are they saying? What is your interaction with them like? Are they, do you believe a number of them will come out to vote tomorrow, or they're uninterested? What's the feedback from residents of the FCT?
Well, from my personal conversation with some people, just last night I spoke to a couple of friends, and there seems to be voter apathy. Some of them are not even aware that the election, they know that the election is coming, but are not aware that the area council election is going to be holding tomorrow. And even when I told them that, okay, the election is coming tomorrow, why not go out and perform your civic responsibility? And they all feel reluctant, and I think there will be much of voter apathy. Even when INEC conducted the mock election in the area councils, we saw that residents did not come out to even perform that. Even though it was a mock exercise, at least we should have a sizable number of residents come out to show that on the election day, they will come out and do the same. But that did not happen. The number of those that came out was very few. And just as I said, from my conversation with some other people, they are not willing to go out to vote. But we hope that by tomorrow, from now, we have about 24 hours to the election. We hope that by tomorrow, many of them will change their mind and will go out and decide who becomes the chairman, the councillor of the area councils and also the wards.
Okay. Well, Joseph, we can rightly say that the die is cast and people are ready. All eyes will be in Abuja. And can you give us just a sneak, mention on what New Central is planning to do and what you'll be doing with the rest of the team who are in Abuja ahead of the coverage?
Okay, for New Central, we've planned to go to all the area councils and not just being at the area councils. We are going to the wards, down to the villages inside the Federal Capital Territory to observe how residents are voting and how the process is going to be carried out. If INEC is going to keep to its words, saying that election materials and voting is going to commence at the right time, that's the deployment of every material. So we've been following up, and that is what we're going to be doing tomorrow. New Central is going to be on top of this, right from Amak, Gwagwalada, Abaji, Kuje, Wari. New Central is going to cover the whole 6 area council. We have enough men on ground to ensure that residents of the Federal Capital Territory get first-hand information on what is happening on the election day.
Thank you so much, Idong Joseph, for the quick breakdown. We'll keep inundating, especially telling every single person who cares to listen and to watch to know that we will be doing them a major favor, taking them into where the action definitely lives. Thanks for joining us this morning, and do have for yourself a great day, and please do well to go back to work. There's no holiday for you. Yes.
I'm already at work, so
we're just reminding you so that you will not
want to divert or diversify your portfolio. Thank you so much.
We know you are very astute at what you do. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Thank you. All right. Well, we're here and we're not going anywhere. I think there's a song like that. I'm trying to remember the song. Anyway, let's bring to you a quick, possibly recap, and then tell you what's coming up next here on Breakfast Central. A quick recap of the story so far. We've talked about the River State. Also, not forgetting we'll look at the Abuja and the by-elections coming up. INEC meets with stakeholders. That's a big story. We just spoke to our correspondent there in Abuja. The team is on ground. And trial of our massacre suspects, the process in which they were caught using technology and yet we say there's no technology. Anyway, don't take my word for it. Let's see what's coming up next on Breakfast Central.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Former Deputy National Chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Chief Olabode George, has slammed INEC for excluding three major parties, the PDP, Labour Party and the ADC, from upcoming Rivers State House of Assembly by-elections. He calls it a calculated attempt to undermine democracy ahead of 2027. INEC insists only 7 parties met requirements, but the exclusion of heavyweights like PDP, LP and ADC raises serious questions about transparency and due process.
Well, this is not just about Rivers State, it's about the credibility of Nigeria's electoral system. If INEC can exclude major parties from a by-election, what does that say about inclusivity and fairness? And what precedent does this set ahead of the 2027 general elections? Well, this morning we do have a former member of House of Representatives 2025 to 2023 and a member of the ADC, Honorable Sergius Ogun, joins us this morning. It's good to have you here, Honorable.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right, as a member of the ADC, how do you interpret INEC's exclusion of your party alongside other parties like Labour Party, the People's Democratic Party, from the State House Assembly by-elections in Rivers State?
Well, like we have always said, INEC is supposed to be independent, and we know they are not independent. It's really going to be worse under this current chairman. And that's why we urge everybody to speak up, because I don't know what reasons they are giving, but you can't have a political party that's registered, that's on ground. I know the chairman of the ADC, and we've had a meeting a couple of times, because considering that we are from the South-South. So I do not know the reasons for excluding them from this election. So, but we need to really hold INEC's feet to fire. INEC, by creation of law, is supposed to be independent. They cannot now be a department under the executive, under Asoro Villa. It's not acceptable. And the unfortunate thing, if they begin to show their legs now, before the 2027 election, has been very, very partial, then people will lose faith, will lose confidence in the 2027 election. I don't know if that's what they are trying to achieve, but we must all tell them or get them to do the right things.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ogun. Let's now bring in our second guest on this panel, Mazi Dixon Ireba, a member of the People's Democratic Party. Good morning to you, Mazi, and thanks for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central. Now, Mazi Ireba, as a member of the People's Democratic Party, what do you make of the exclusion of your party from the State House of Assembly by-elections in Rivers State? What reasons have been given by INEC for this exclusion, and do you find the reasons tenable? Mazi Ireba, we seem to be having some network connections with you, but we'll get back to you in the course of our conversation. Now, let's bring the conversation back to Honorable Sergius Ogun. Do you see, I mean, in your opening submission, you said, you know, INEC is not being independent. The independent in INEC is just it's just a word. Do you see this as a deliberate political suppression or incompetence on the part of the electoral umpire? And what will be their motivation for doing this in the first place?
Well, it's deliberate. This is deliberate. They will give reasons later, of course, but I live in Rivers. Yeah, I really know. I also live in Abuja, and then in Edo State. I know how election is done in Rivers State, especially under the current minister of the FCT. So, and he wants to get absolute, maybe 100% of the outcome of that result. He wants to make sure he dictates that. If you remember in 2023, you will not say APC was a strong party in Rivers State, even though the then Minister of Transportation is from Rivers State. the current minister of FCT was absolutely in charge. For him to swing the entire state for APC, then you know the kind of person he is. He doesn't like competition. If you remember the second time, he almost didn't have anybody competing with him. He was almost the sole candidate in that election. So this is, you can go back and check me. So this is the kind of person he is. And that's why we say, if INEC is truly independent, this should not be happening. This should not be happening. So he wants to have record 100% of the outcome and show it to Mr. President. And I'm afraid that's likely what's going to happen in Abuja here tomorrow. But why should one individual be getting away with all this? Well, this country is bigger than anybody. But to allow these things to happen, it shows that they are eroding whatever achievements we have made in the last few years in building this democracy. And nobody should keep quiet. We should all be speaking up. Because this is how it starts. Check countries where they don't have democracy anymore. This is how it started. That an individual becomes too big for the system.
An individual becomes too big. I mean, you've pointed fingers at the FCT minister, and it only makes one wonder what could have gone wrong. Let's see if we do have Mazi Rebu joining us again. Mazi, are you there?
So I'm here. Sorry about that, the network.
Okay, great. Great to have you. We just spoke to, Honorable Ogun, who has said this seems like a political orchestration that's meant to cripple his political party so that only the political party that the FCT minister supports and pushes will likely get 100% votes and eventual win. Is there anything that the PDP did not do? Was there any lines that were not dotted? You didn't cross the T's, you didn't dot the I's before INEC, hence why INEC has decided to say you will not participate at the elections, the by-elections in Rivers State. Is there anything that you did not do, PDP did not do rather? When I say you, because you're representative of the PDP as we have this conversation. Is there anything that wasn't done?
Is there anything we didn't do? The system as we have presently is no more about democracy, clearly. What we haven't done is to take to the extreme position that the current administration is pushing everyone to. Because when the likes of Showore started talking about revolution now, it wasn't very clear. But it's clearer now that what may have to play out for this crop of rogue elites in power to cave in will be revolution. Because what the INEC has done by excluding PDP, you could see that intentionally the INEC is provoking all of these extreme ends that we may have to resort to. Because there is no reason whatsoever for INEC to somehow intentionally now be balkanizing political parties, particularly the PDP. What it has done is recognize the illegal group that are parading themselves as members of the PDP. These are a group of people that have been since expelled from the party. But ironically, the INEC that we have today is seen to be hobnobbing with the FCT minister and his group of rascally politicians, because everything that they are doing is an aberration, really. The rascality that the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike, has every day continued to show and all of that, it's obvious that the institution is enabling him. The government of the day has seen Nyesom Wike as someone that can be used to disrupt democracy in Nigeria. So I don't see anything that we have done as a political party that will warrant the exclusion that INEC has done, from the forthcoming Rivers election. But it's okay. History is being documented. We hope that now the opposition needs to begin to collapse all walls and build bridges, You know, we need to form the real coalition. It's not by individuals now, but by political parties. The political parties must form the, real coalition to ensure that we save democracy in Nigeria. Because the Tinubu administration clearly is not a democratic administration. It's not this is not a democratic government. This is not a democracy anymore. This is more like plutocracy. Government of the rich, by the rich, and for the rich. Because everything we're seeing APC do so far under Tinubu administration is to highlight the fact that Nigeria seems to be a huge crime scene, and the people are being used, as guinea pigs in this environment. They don't care about the Nigerian people anymore, and they should watch it, because revolution really may just be the option. Look at the recent...
lots of... Mazi Regbe, I want you to hold your thoughts for a bit, because we have to go pay some bills now. We still have quite a lot to pack on this conversation. We'll be right back after this break. Do stay with us. To Breakfast Central, we're currently discussing the exclusion of major opposition political parties from the by-elections in Rivers State, upcoming by-elections. And joining us to discuss this, we have Honorable Sergius Ogo, former member of the House of Representatives. We also have Mazi Dixon Iregbe, member of the People's Democratic Party. Honorable Sergius Ogo, what's the way forward now, and in what ways will your political party register their displeasure with INEC for excluding them from this by-election, so as to prevent such things from happening in the future, and also getting a clear picture on why exactly your party, the ADC, was excluded from from participating in the by-elections?
The party is going to do a formal protest to INEC. I don't have all the reasons why this happened, and I will take it from there. But the truth is, even they had been allowed, I would not have, nothing would have come out of it really, because, like I said, we know the antecedent of the FCT minister in Rivers State. But that should not preclude a process, allowing the process to go through the entire gamut of somebody standing for election and the result being announced. Because I can tell you for free, he would have even feeded his people for ADC. But again, that's neither here nor there. They should not have been disallowed. And you have heard the man said clearly that it's only the party that is supporting the president that will win the FCT elections. And he has said that nobody is not being invited by any security agents or anything. Well, they will tell you they're waiting for the crime to happen before they will proceed on any investigation. I think this man needs to be reined in. He's a good person. I mean, we all used to be in PDP together. He kept the PDP together from when I got to the house in 2015 till almost decided having problem in 2022. So he has capacity to disrupt anything, any space. So like I said, I think the party is going to do a formal protest, but that would be after the fact. Otherwise, you would have said do a protest and then go to court. But we have all talked about how the judiciary is these days. And then the main election, the 2027 election, by the time the by-election is done in Rivers State, a result announced, and you do a protest to INEC and go to court, before you even get the verdict, that session would have become, it's not like the executive election, where you have to spend the mandatory number of days in office. Parliamentary election, it closes with that tenure. So by the time you go to court and even get judgment, that tenure would have lapsed. So it's very unfortunate, and he knows what he's doing.
Okay, you've said it's very unfortunate, you know what to do. I mean, we're running out of time. Let me come back to you, Mazi. Let's look at the next steps right now. INEC has said these parties have been excluded, your parties are inclusive. The name, the FCT minister, which is Nyesom Wike, has been touted as one who is a very strong contender to deal with, especially looking at the fact that he always mentions that Rivers State is his state. how does the PDP and ADC plan to go through these entire or any other process to ensure that you get answers? Because INEC has a new boss and a new sheriff in town, Professor Joash Amubita. So what are the next steps for you, for the PDP?
Like I was saying earlier, I think this is the time for the opposition, particularly the PDP and the ADC and other political parties who are in the opposition, to collapse the walls and build bridges. We need to realize that we're faced with a common enemy. It's not it's not more, in fact, it's an open secret that the plot is to foist on the nation a one-party state. And therefore, the opposition needs to get together and form the real coalition. And in fact, also identify with a leader who can be said to be the consensus candidate. Because at this stage now, beyond the by-elections and the forthcoming AMAC election in Abuja here and a few other elections that will happen before the 2027 election, the main focus now should be how do we, save this nation from this crop of ruiners. That's what's important now. I have mentioned that the call for revolution should no more be treated as a treasonable statement. Revolution has to happen, political revolution. We need to come together and form a very strong alliance that can oust this ruining political party. That is the only way out. These people seem to have captured the state, and they don't care. There's no conscience, and there's no plan to respect the rules of the game. They grabbed it, and they want to assert their grip on power, by every means possible. And like I stated earlier, and my colleague has also clearly stated, that Nyesom Wike has become a tool being used to disrupt and possibly end democracy in Nigeria, which every true Democrat should do everything possible to resist, do everything possible to ensure that the plot of this administration is not allowed to come to fruition.
But Mazi Regu, just before we go, I've been able to dig up some information from INEC's resident electoral commissioner in Port Harcourt. He said the PDP did not take part in the required party primaries for the seats in question, which meant it did not properly nominate candidates for the by-elections. The ADC failed to upload its primary election results on INEC's official portal within the stipulated time frame, which is a mandatory procedural requirement. The Labour Party reported that it was embroiled in ongoing litigation and therefore did not complete its nomination process in time. Because of these issues, not meeting deadlines, not conducting or uploading valid primaries or internal legal disputes, INEC said these parties were ineligible to field candidates in the February 21st by-elections for the 2 state assembly seats. On the face of it, it looks quite reasonable, following the guidelines of INEC. They didn't just make this out of the blue. So are these not valid reasons?
As it is, INEC as it is now can cook up any narrative to justify the position they have taken. We saw them, like I stated earlier, hobnobbing with a group of people who have been expelled from the People's Democratic Party. So if INEC can be doing that, then I'm not surprised at the reason they are bringing forward. This particular INEC chairman, the so-called new sheriff in town, I hope he has a plan for himself and for his family. I hope he has a name to protect. But the way it's playing out, he may end up becoming the worst INEC chairman even after Mahmoud Yakubu and co. So I'm not surprised at the excuse they are giving. PDP, by every means, the system is doing everything possible to stifle the chances of the People's Democratic Party forming a focus direction and ensuring that it presents candidates for election. So these other reasons is neither here nor there. Like I said, INEC is directly involved in the balkanization of political parties today as it is in Nigeria. And the plan is to foist on the nation a one-party state, which every true Democrat, in the country should rise up against and speak up against.
All right. Mazi Dixon, thank you so much for your time. And also, Honorable Ogun, thanks for your time. Please do well to avail yourselves when we come calling again, because we do know that INEC will possibly have a rejoinder concerning these conversations. But thank you for joining us, and do have a swell weekend.
Thank you.
Much.
All right, let's tell you that Nigeria's healthcare sector continues to be in the news, and we'll talk about all of these and much more. Plus, for the fact that the minister said they did get a little sum, just tiny. Stay with us. That's where our focus would be after the break.
You're welcome back to Breakfast Central. It's now time for us to switch gears to something else, and we will be talking about healthcare. Nigeria's healthcare sector continues to feel the strain of inadequate facilities with dilapidated infrastructure, chronic equipment shortages, and a severely understaffed workforce undermining the delivery of essential services across the country. Many primary and general hospitals lack basic diagnostic tools, reliable power, and water, leaving patients facing long waits, delayed treatment, and in some cases, preventable death, particularly in rural and underserved urban communities where access to functioning medical centers is limited.
With more than 70% of primary healthcare centers reportedly non-functional, many Nigerians suffer from preventable illnesses, and delayed treatments are actually contributing to poorer health outcomes, especially for many Nigerians. But let's tell you that the persistent underfunding of health facilities, just like the recent one we saw with the Minister of Health coming out to say he only received a paltry sum, this is actually affected in terms of numbers of doctors, nurses who actually offer services to benefit Nigerians. But let's break all of these things down, as we do have joining us to discuss this. We do have a guest in-house who will be speaking with us, founder and CEO of Get Medco. Dr. Anna Tychus joins us live in the studios. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you.
We're also expecting another guest to join us via video conferencing. We really want to look at the implications of some statements that have been made and the issue that's bedeviling Nigeria's healthcare sector. Whenever we talk about the healthcare system, people wonder why we're still where we are today. And people wonder why Nigeria is not leading in terms of providing premium healthcare. Although some experts will tell you that you have foreigners who fly into Nigeria to receive treatment because of the NHIS situation, they cannot wait, they come in. But let's start off first. Where are we as a country, Nigeria, in the healthcare space? And what do you think is actually really bedeviling our growth?
Thank you so much for this. I think it's a tale of two cities in Nigeria's healthcare at this point. There's the private healthcare sector, and then there's the public healthcare sector. Where you're actually seeing a lot of movement and traction is in the private healthcare sector. That's why you have people coming in. So then there's an equity issue, because there's only a certain number of people that can actually afford these services. And so those who can afford it will get better care. However, in the public domain, what we're seeing is that we're losing so many doctors. The level of training is significantly low. The access to quality healthcare machines, power, things like that are just non-existent. So I think that, as a people and as our government, we have to look at this public healthcare, because that's what's serving the majority of our population. So looking at things like power, looking at things like mass training, for things like maternal and infant health, for things like emergency training, for things like even general chronic disease management. I think these things, the world has moved so far ahead but a lot of the things that we're doing are so far behind. So I think training is a major part that needs to close, as well as provision of equipment.
Now, talking about the issues on ground, I mean, there's a whole list of everything that is wrong with the Nigerian healthcare sector. On this program last year, we had the president of the National Association of Resident Doctors, and it gave us a blow-by-blow account of what doctors in public institutions and hospitals have to go through, and there's nothing to write home about. And I believe the government is aware of these issues. What are the implications of not paying attention to his public health service for a country like Nigeria? If we continue to go down this line, what will happen? Because we've seen a lot of our doctors jackpot, the brain drain.
Exactly, exactly. So when you look at developed nations, one of the top things that you look at is what does their healthcare look like? That's actually one of the determinants of the success of a nation. So for Nigeria in particular, if we do not pay attention to this sector, we are not going to make it as a country, because the way we are able to perform is directly related to how healthy we are as a population. Productivity. So we focus a lot on education, but even that is suffering. There's a lot of attention on banking and infrastructure and all these different things, but I don't think enough investment is going into healthcare, and it's going to become worse if we don't do something about it now. Our population is going to die off. We're going to lose our doctors. We're going to keep losing our nurses. I mean, it's horrible what's happening now, especially with countries luring our healthcare professionals away.
When you say do something about it, is it throwing more money at it, increasing the budgetary allocation? Because a lot of people feel, if you just give them money, it will solve the problems. When they go on strike, they feel the doctors are only after better remuneration. And, so what really should the government focus on? What are the low-hanging fruits? What can they do in the interim to stop this bleeding?
So if we say that money is not important here, I think we would be disingenuous. This is definitely primarily a money problem, because when you look at the allocation of budget to healthcare in Nigeria, it is significantly lower than other countries. Significantly. I'm talking about at least 10 times lower than other countries. You can't sustain a people of 300 plus million on such a tiny budget. It's not possible. So then you have doctors that are not well paid, nurses that are not well paid, and it's not just about money. I mean, we all work for something, but when doctors are missing salaries for months on end, they feel, if I don't...
I mean, they're human beings.
They're human beings. They have families to feed. They have all these things. And they're giving hours and hours of their day. I mean, I'm talking about doctors working 20 hours plus every day. I mean, it's untenable.
That's a tough one. Since you mentioned budgeting and so on, especially for the healthcare sector, which is very poor relatively, I'm trying to do a math here. Let's look at the recent budget. Just recently, the coordinating Minister of Health, Professor Mohammed Pate, had appeared before the Senate committee to present what is well known as to defend, his budget. And we're being told, one, that the budget amounts to 218 billion naira. That's a capital budget that's been appropriated for the Ministry of Health. Now, out of that 218 billion naira, the minister said he's only received 36 million naira. I mean, take a look at that figure. Now, if you do a calculation roughly, say 218 billion divided by over 250 million Nigerians, I'm getting 872. So are we saying that in Nigerian is 872 naira per person for medical healthcare system? That's way below. That money would even buy you a syringe or something for an injection. What is this? What's at stake here? Are we analyzing? I mean, as a medical professional, can you help us analyze the stakes here, the negativity, the negatives here, and why possibly there needs to be a paradigm shift if there is any?
Yes, thank you. So those numbers are quite staggering, and interestingly, I'm glad you broke it down that way, because when we hear 218 billion, it's like, oh my God, that's so much money. But when you look at the percentage related to the population and related to the overall budget, you'll see that this is actually more like a drop in the bucket, and it's not going to be enough. Now, if we don't pay attention to this, what is going to happen is that we are not going to have a population healthy enough to carry on what needs to be done in the country. And what you'll see is poverty increasing. What you'll see is, healthcare and morbidity increasing. What you'll see, again, because we have a very our mortality rate is very high in the country. People are dying in their 50s, while other countries are extending into their 80s and 90s. So these are actually major issues. So we're going to have a productive population dying off earlier. We're going to have people leaving the country to go to even nearby countries that are, Nigeria has so much more potential than these countries, but this is what's going to happen. Medical tourism out of the country, and things like that. So, and the divide is just going to get worse, because those who are rich are going to be able to get better care here, but those who are not are going to get worse care, and that's not good.
Now let's talk about the healthcare practitioners, the doctors, because if the doctors are not here, then who would provide the treatment for those seeking treatment? We're seeing a massive brain drain of doctors and nurses live in Nigeria. Before, it used to be just the doctors, but a lot of the nurses are in the NHS in the UK. As someone who has seen the best of both worlds, you're foreign trained and you're currently in Nigeria, what specific structural conditions inside Nigeria's healthcare system are pushing these professionals out, and what urgent policy actions could realistically slow or reverse this trend? There was a time they were toying with this idea of putting a moratorium on those doctors that, the Nigeria trained you for little or next to nothing, so you owe Nigeria as a sense of duty at least 5 years of your life. You can't go out. That sounds extreme, but what can we really do to stop this? Reverse.
So that's a great question. So I've actually researched and interviewed many of the doctors that have left Nigeria, and just to put numbers on it, we're talking about over 50% of the doctors in this country have left, and we haven't even measured, how many nurses have left and so on. But the number one thing is remuneration. So we look at what do Nigerian doctors make compared to people abroad, right? And then number two is infrastructure, the equipment, the ability to actually carry out your job. And people coming in and it's like, oh, but we don't have oxygen for you. We don't have blood for you. We don't have, these are basic life-saving things that it's like, I'm powerless without these things. So those were the two top things that were cited as the reasons why they left. People were actually even willing to say, well, if you even just pay us more regularly, if you at least increase our salary to a certain point. But it's unspeakable, actually, when you compare what is being offered in a country like England compared to Nigeria. And I think, nobody is saying pay us what you pay in England, because the, cost of living is significantly different. But I do think that there has to be an appreciation for this important profession.
I'd like us to look at one key aspect, which is maturity of promises and pacts. Let me just run through some of them for the benefit of our viewers, as this conversation really concerns every single Nigerian. July 2025, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu heads to St. Lucia, signs a deal with them, says that the doctors in St. Lucia, which is the Caribbean nation, would come to Nigeria and, fill in the gaps, as it were. The line here says that agreement with St. Lucia to deploy Nigerian professionals, including doctors, nurses, and teachers, to Caribbean nation as well for 2 years. So Nigerian doctors will also go there for 2 years. And 50% deficit. And the ones that are here will now leave and go there.
Exactly.
Can we make it balance? Like the man will say on the streets. Second one, United States Health Corporation MOU was signed December 2025. US is looking to invest $5.1 billion into the Nigerian healthcare system for a period of 5 years. Third one, European Union. October 2025, Nigeria signs agreement with EU to boost local manufacturing of medicines and vaccines. these are like a plethora of always looking beautiful. You're in the sector. Is it really translating into what Nigerians should be really excited about, or is it just a mere surface news?
It seems like a mere surface news, and I'll tell you why. Because at the core of medicine are human beings. So human beings providing this service to human beings. So yes, you can bring the medicines, and they are important. Yes, you can do all these things, but if you ignore the human resource, if you ignore what these people have been voicing and saying all this time, then you're just fixing, it's like a Band-Aid on a fracture. Does that make sense? So I think at the end of the day, we need to focus on the people. Yes, we're dealing with the symptoms. We're not dealing with the root cause. And I think that talk to the doctor. They have been speaking. The nurses have been speaking, but we need to focus on, dealing with them and not ignoring them and saying, oh, why are you asking for money? You should be selfless. Like, we all live, and it's not fair when you look at the counterparts I trained in the US, I worked in the US, I came to Nigeria voluntarily, so this is a reverse jackpot if you want to say that, but how many, and the US pays higher than any other country. But how many people do you actually have doing this, apart from doctors who are nearing retirement and they feel that they want to give back? But people in their prime, people like me, my age, nobody wants to give up that lifestyle to say, let's come back. So the onus is on the government to say, how do we keep the people that we have here? How can we incentivize? How can we compensate so that we don't lose more and more? And we're not the only people that have lost people. Other countries have faced this. But they said, okay, we're going to listen to you, we're going to invest, and people ended up staying. So I think this needs to really be looked at, and people shouldn't be gaslighted out of thinking, that what they're saying is wrong.
Now let's look at Nigeria, and in comparison with global best practices and people that have done very well with healthcare, not necessarily extremely rich countries. I'm talking of the Caribbean nation of Cuba, for example, who sends health brigades to other countries to help with training and deploying them in terms of emergency. Out-of-pocket healthcare spending in Nigeria remains extremely high. How does this deepen inequality, and are we effectively running a two-tier system where healthcare is only accessible to the wealthy? Like, for example, I don't know why we're signing MOUs with the United States of America. They don't have a shining healthcare is not easily available to everyone, and it's highly privatized. I mean, the NHS would be a better model. But what examples, what countries could we learn from in terms of healthcare delivery for the majority of the population without breaking the bank? And what needs to be done?
So that's a great question. So I think, comparing ourselves to first world countries would be a very, very far stretch. Number one, these countries have been developed for hundreds of years, and we just gained independence, 50 years ago or something like that. 60 years ago, 65 years ago. Yeah. So at the end of the day, I think that we have to compare apples to apples, oranges to oranges. So when we look at other countries, let's say, I don't want to say South Africa, but when we look at South Africa, when we even look at our neighbor Ghana, when we look at all these people that seem to be making strides, what are they actually doing? And you'll see even Nigerian doctors, some of them are going to our neighboring countries. Why? We have to ask why? Because of the remuneration. So at the end of the day, and when we say, oh, Nigeria doesn't have money, but we look at our politicians. We look at our oil and gas. We look at all these people, and we're like, great, they're making laws, but at the end of the day, we are saving lives. So it's like, why can't we also be appreciated? And to keep in mind, I went to school for over 10 years to achieve my degree. Many people went to school for 4 years. You see what I'm saying? So at the end of the day,
and some went to no school.
And some went to no school.
But they're signing the...
Exactly. So we went to school for 10 years plus. And at the end of the day, you're saying we don't deserve something. I think it's wrong. I think it's wrong.
You're echoing the same sentiments, likened to that of the Mr. Mohammed, who happens to be the resident doctor's president. But my final question to you will look at the mortality rate. Recently, international community, content creators are bandying that narrative where they ask people on the streets, which country has the lowest mortality rate? I don't know if you've seen those videos, and people are answering, calling names of different countries, Egypt, Mauritius, Japan, and so on, playfully. And all of a sudden, wild guess, he says Nigeria.
Lowest mortality?
Yes, and he says Nigeria, and I'm like, okay.
Or highest.
Highest mortality
okay.
rate, and he says Nigeria. And with a quick search, and with the recent report, it shows that we're looking at 54 years max.
Yes.
That's where you
Life
get to.
expectancy.
Life
Yes.
expectancy, 54 years.
Yes.
But we have our fathers who outlived, we had older people up until now. You still see them. They live up to 90-something years, 80-something years. But now we're being told that the generation coming now will not even get to 60. This is scary, though. We must be honest. This is what people would put in front of the National Assembly and say, listen, we need to debate this. That means we are the last of our kind at the National Assembly that will live beyond this year. What critical measures do you advise the Medical Association, the Minister of Health, and everybody? What do you think they need to do that must be critical and must lead to a crackdown of this negative assertions?
Statistics. Yeah, so first of all, we have to look at how is mortality rate calculated, right? So they look at the average age of deaths across this sector. So people that die from motor vehicle accidents, people that die at birth, people that die during childbirth. So all these things are put together. And it doesn't mean that nobody will live through 54. It just means that on average. This is how long people will live when you consider all the factors. So that is a very, very negative statistic, especially where in the world we're seeing countries actually lengthening their life expectancy as opposed to reversing, but we seem to be going in the back. And I think obviously there are many, many factors with this, but we need to focus on what are the things that are contributing. Infant mortality rate is too high. We actually have the highest in the world. Maternity mortality rate, we have the highest in the world. I mean, when you look at this, like, why? For a country as brilliant and as forward-thinking as we are, why should we have this? So I think that at the end of the day, what we need to do is when we see the problem, it looks so gigantic. But there are little steps that we can make. We can create a 5-year plan and say, in year 1, this is what we're going to focus on, and that's where the money is going to go. Making tiny steps like this towards a huge problem will go a very, very long way, and that would be my suggestion. I've come up with several indices and several things that can be done regarding training, number 1, because our training is actually a problem. So that's what's happening now that our physicians are going to the UK and so on. We're seeing huge gaps, where people are like, oh my God, I was never taught this, and I never knew this, and things like that. So I think that we need to focus on that because that directly affects the quality of care that our patients are receiving as well.
Now, finally, Dr. Taishes, if you had the President's, still a follow-up to the last question, if you had the President's full attention for just 5 minutes, what 3 immediate practical actions would you recommend to begin fixing Nigeria's healthcare system? And how quickly could Nigerians realistically expect to see results?
So number 1 thing that I would do is I would ask the President to reprioritize how healthcare is seen, because I think it's the more foundational thing, it's not seen, just like a foundation in a building. That's number 1. Number 2 is I would say pour money into this sector, not just blind money anywhere, but where are the issues? Can we get sustainable salaries, for our healthcare staff? Number 1. Number 2, can we pour training in? Money into training. People, if you're bringing people from St. Lucia, maybe you should bring them to train as opposed to this exchange that was being proposed. And then finally, I would also recommend that basic life-saving equipment should be provided in every single...
What are examples of those?
Oxygen.
People
blood
have died
banks,
out of oxygen.
Electricity.
Power.
I mean, power. Just if we had power, because you talk about vaccines,
people were
you
carrying
talk about all these things.
MRI machines.
Our MRI is even far.
Okay, just
basic needs. How about people on ventilators? If you don't have power, how are you supposed to remain alive?
Syringes.
It's syringes. Little things like that. People come into the hospital. They have to go and buy these things, and then before they can come back. I mean.
Talking about electricity, the hospital in University College,
Lagos University,
UCH, for about 150 days last year, they went, it was dark, for a hospital a teaching.
The minister had to go there with a power bank.
Yeah, I mean, it's
and he went there with a power bank.
Wow.
So, in other, I think we also need to, look at legislation and how we, the presidential villa is going off-grid. There will be fully solar in March of this year. Okay. And you have critical national infrastructure like hospitals that have to depend on generators and, there's no backup system for power. It's really, really sad.
2026.
No, can I say something about that? Because you know what Nigeria has an abundance of? We have an abundance of sun. So some hospitals have actually spent and invested millions and millions of naira to go completely off the grid. And I think that if we rethink and we start to produce solar panels locally, imagine we might be independent of electricity.
There was a promise that all imported solar panels will be stopped as at last year that Nigeria is producing.
But we're not producing
batches. But I don't know, have you seen it?
But why? Okay. Is there a power holding issue? Somebody is...
Well, we don't know. It's a problem. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
For joining us. And if you just tuned in, this is Breakfast Central. We've taken a look at some of the major issues bedeviling Nigeria's healthcare sector. But stay with us. We have more. The front pages of the newspapers will be up next. Don't go anywhere. Welcome. Let's take a look at the front pages, and we have the one and only Mr. Dotun Ojon who joins us here. It's good to have you.
Mr. Dotun, looking very colorful.
Yes.
Are we celebrating something?
So the beauty of life is in the colors.
Wow.
So, the color is actually an expression of courage.
This was this was like what's that state called? The Sunshine State.
Yes.
He's from the Sunshine.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Always shining.
What constituency are you from?
Don't mind what happened 2 days ago. The back and forth. It doesn't represent our.
Are you sure?
But it's terrible at a ward level.
At a ward level.
It's supposed to be a family affair. The same party, and it's led to, sadly, the death of some people.
So we are hoping that is not going to repeat itself in the general elections. We cannot just continue.
Very
Okay,
let's start with the front pages of the newspaper. We'll start with this Nigeria, and the headline is screaming 58.47 trillion naira budget. Debt burden, weak oil earnings worry lawmakers. But the price of Brent crude oil yesterday did go up slightly off the back of talks that President Trump might bomb Iran in the next few days. And the Straits of Hormuz is there. Quite a lot of the world's oil passes through that passage. So it will have implications. Queries federal government's assumptions. Finance Minister Defense figures says economy is recovering. 5.5 billion naira defamation suits. Court reserves judgment in DSS suit against Serap. Where do they want Serap to get such a huge amount from? And you're wondering why the DSS is suing Serap. For details of that, go to page 31 of this Nigerian newspaper. FCT polls, minister declares holiday restricts movement in area councils. Sad news, Senator Mpigi dies at 64. Senate and Rivers State government orders mourn. Tinubu's truce, Rivers lawmakers halt impeachment move against Fubara and deputy. Okay. So I believe we should start with the debt burden and the budget.
Yeah.
We've been seeing a lot of ministers go to talk about their budget performance, and some of the revelations are shocking. Some get zero allocation for the capital component of their budget, and people are wondering that why do we even bother with this budget exercise if the money is not going to be released? Why do we get excited, and how do you develop as a country when your budget is performing woefully year on year, and you also have a situation where multiple budgets are running concurrently? It's very messy, and you can't plan with such a thing. What's your take on the revelations of the past few weeks, and also debt burden?
So, thank you. If you have studied my duration of conversation, even before this revelation, I've always said that it is not politically wise for you to continue to lay paper on the floor for approval when you know that it will not translate to the mindset of government. The essence of budget is to be able to communicate your mindset to the people in government and people outside of the government. What that means is that I can actually pick a copy of the budget and I know that this government is heavy on infrastructure. I can pick a copy of the budget and say, oh, this one is coming to turn around the health sector. I can pick a copy of the budget and say, oh, the focus of this administration is education. But when that comes as a joke, when you present that budget and at the end of the day you do not follow through, then it places question mark on not just your administration, but your mindset, your leadership mindset as even a person. And I said it here before, that my thinking is one, other than the budget that has that accommodates what I call financial framework for every administration. For instance, you have a 4-year tenure. I am going to build road from here to here. It's in that financial framework. And you lay the financial framework. You can call it budget, but there's this aspect of budgeting that we are not understanding yet. We think that the lifespan of a budget cannot be extended. The budget of any nation is a living soul. When you present that budget and you by any means, maybe because of finance and other things, you are unable to execute it appropriately, you can actually do a follow-up, write to the National Assembly that you want to extend the lifespan of this budget to cover for as much as 3 years. So that at the end of the day... Is that what is happening currently? That's not what is happening.
But the president is carrying over...
Oh, we jettison... Can you explain the concurrent running of budget?
Okay, so the concurrent running of budget, which makes it a lot unacceptable, is the fact that they gave you 20 billion last year to buy this cup. You haven't bought this cup. And this year, they want to give you another 10 billion to buy this phone. So that means that as you are pricing this cup, you are also pricing this phone. Remember that it was maybe lack of money or lack of political will, because
that's why you couldn't buy the cup.
Continue to say that the problem we have in Nigeria is not that of lack of wealth. It's usually lack of will. Now, because of the political will, I was unable to get this cup last year.
Okay.
What is the assurance that if you add this additional burden to my responsibility this year, that I will be able to supervise the purchase of this cup as well as the purchase of this phone? This is what I think. If you gave me 20 billion as allocation, not money, because when you see this paper, ministers go to queue to get fund from the Ministry of Finance. Most often, they never get access to this fund. Somehow, when they get access to a few one, they just use it anyhow. Now, what I'm thinking is that since I am unable to take this cup, to buy the cup in 2025, by 2026, write a letter to the National Assembly extending the lifespan of the budget so that I am able at the end of the day to buy this cup. If there's the need for me to review the amount of money, either upward or downward, because they say the economy is improving now. So we should also be having conversation about downward review of contract sum. Because if the economy is improving, if you have 20 billion last year to do a road and you didn't do the road, the conversation logically this year, because the economy is improving, should not be conversation of reviewing upwards. It should be conversation of reviewing downwards to actually accommodate the reality of the improvement. So having said that, if you are now saying, oh, you are unable to buy this cup last year, okay, this year again, we are adding additional burden of buying this phone, it is a bit tacky. And that's one aspect of our budget that I need us to look into very, very critically. And for the assumptions, I think the assumptions are relatively very good. For example, the foreign exchange is put at 1,400. And we have seen a lot...
realistic.
Yeah, realistically. Yeah. Put at 1,000. And we've seen a lot of people who understand the economy come out to say that, oh, if we continue with the rate that we are going, and if the government allows, because there's an aspect of the foreign exchange that the government, because government wants to export and make our product accessible outside of the country, they can block your foreign exchange, they can block your money from gaining value. That's also part of government responsibility.
But so also, does it factor into the economy, election year spendings, and the focus of the government, could it distract us from getting to where we want to get to?
Okay, so
is it a cause of concern for you that
it is.
in an election? Yeah.
Yes, it is a cause for positive concern for me. And the last time I came here, and I told you about the wonders about our economy. That anytime election is coming, there are two wonders that happen. One is insecurity. You see volatility everywhere. They start killing people, they start kidnapping people, they start doing all manner of things. The second one is the wonder of the economy. Somehow, except under Buhari, and that's why I'm still concerned that we still voted Buhari for a second time in 2019. It's one of the concerns that today I do not understand, because even prior to his election, he was unable to do the wonders that his predecessors do with a year before the election. And I know that the man here now, our president...
What sort of wonders?
The wonders is that you will see that the economy will continue to take shape this year. It is not ordinary that the dollar is coming down, that Naira is gaining value. It is not ordinary that now...
Is Naira gaining value, or the United States currency is losing value?
Whichever way. Whichever way.
Because if you look at the Naira, if you compare with the Great British Pound, the euro, the Canadian dollar, it's
still a bit, yes, it's not like the way they used to be. But whichever way, because of our reliance, our heavy reliance on dollar, either one is falling or the other is rising, it will lead to a better life because of our consumption and our importation lifestyle. So as I was saying, the man there now is a politician to the core. So you will see that when you get to the market now, I've asked people, and they actually confirmed to me that the prices are actually coming down. And I don't want to mark this government against another government. That's not what I'm saying. I am marking this government against itself. It will be a credit on their part when we can now put them side by side with other administration and say, oh, when you came to power, this was sold for 20 naira. Where are we now? Oh, we are selling for 19 naira, if that's possible. But the reality in the marketplace now, as we speak, is that some of those goods that were extremely high those times when they came on board has actually come down a little bit. And it's one of the wonders, since you asked me, it's one of the wonders of, yes, a little bit. Yes, a little bit. It's better than nothing. It's better than nothing. And what I want that to translate to is that within the first 6 or 7 months of this administration, 10 million people further sank under the poverty line. So my prayer now and my wish for the government is to be able to translate that also to improvement, proper improvement, so that more people will also climb up the poverty line. Because the United Nations has made it very clear that the only way to cure poverty in Africa is for allocation to be given to people living in abject poverty. More allocation, not servicing the lifestyle of our politicians and those living already in opulence.
But we've seen intervention programs and allocations are being given, and yet it still does not reach the people, because the allocation may borrow 2 legs and use Michael Jackson's moonwalk to slide away from the door it's supposed to get into and escape, and nothing is done. I mean, you've seen, like Benga highlighted, ministers are coming to cry foul now. The recent one is Tunji Ojo saying that he has received 0 in 2024-2025, 0 from capital projects, nothing.
I mean, for a ministry as important as Interior Ministry.
And then you have the health minister, which you just highlighted in our previous conversation. You also have education, and not too far off, just this week, you have agriculture also came out. The agriculture said, listen, in as much as we've talked about tractors, and by the way, they just gave out some of the tractors to some farmers this week. And that was done as a matter of the fact that Nigerians were starting to call out the presidency and the government. People purchase tractors.
They launched it with fanfare, and then it was lying foul.
It was lying foul there.
That's the
Their response was that they had to install trackers so they can monitor.
How long will it take?
We'll have more papers to look into. We'll go on a break.
We'll go on a break, but very importantly, the 5 wall clocks that were not working in Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos are fun, and the management has finally changed the battery. So it's working now. So congratulations.
We'll be right back. You're watching Breakfast Central on News Central. We are on the front pages of the newspaper. Let's go straight to YouTube and let's read some comments. On YouTube, we do have Olumide says, for those who turn politics into their daily bread and tea, who cling to power out of fear of letting go. He was making a statement, possibly reacting to one of the stories that we took Also, Huge Man 10 says this analyst is a joke. This analyst clearly is an APC supporter. He's talking. They are not happy. They say you're an APC supporter.
Are you wearing the Infinity logo? I can't see it. I never see my Renew Hope package now.
Hey.
Your Renew Hope Ramadan package.
Drop a comment if you received your package. When there's a package going around in town, say many
Ramadan things are inside.
Anyway, let's go.
Depends on if you're a city boy or not.
Yeah, okay. It's for city boys.
Yes, village boys. You get to collect
let's go to the newspaper very quickly. Let's go to the Guardian. Let's see what the Guardian has in store for Nigerians this morning. On the Guardian newspaper, on the front page, how oldest presidents tighten grip on youngest continent. Fact, I love the depiction.
Metaphor.
I love the picture. What they're showing you there, of course, you have, now.
The African Union logo. And then you have workers.
Workers in front, showing that the people who are...
the continent that is filled with old men. By the way, President Paul Biya celebrated his 93rd, I believe, birthday a few days ago, and his wife was holding him for support.
Can you imagine that? Let's give you another story very quickly. You want to touch on that one?
That's the main thing.
That's the main story.
Yes, actually.
It's a good report.
Since you're starting with Paul Biya, he's been in power since 1982, and this will be his 8th tenure. And I say it, if you study the concept of leadership in Africa, you will see that we do not understand that living is part of leadership. I have repeatedly said it. When you lose the power to rule, please don't lose the power to live. But African leaders are not leavers. And that's brought out from our traditional leadership philosophy. In Africa, when you become the traditional ruler of your community, the concept is for you to rule throughout life. So, because of that, we have imported that into governance. So somebody gets into power,
but the leaders there, the kings, they were not absolute leaders, or they had checks and balances. For example, the Oyomesi, when they present the calabash to the king, it means your time is up.
But the concept of traditionalism, yes, the concept of traditionalism is actually to live throughout life. Whether you now commit some errors in the process is a different thing entirely. But if you consistently look at the lifestyle of our leaders, even politically in Nigeria today, it's about living forever. That's why a man does 2 terms and he's still fighting, he's still struggling to ensure that he installs somebody so that he can still have control over that person. Let's quickly go through some of them, because we talked about Paul Biya now. Museveni in Uganda has been in power since 1986. When you look at, we talked about Paul, even Kagame, the Rwanda you talk about, has been in power since 2000.
Then there's a quiet man in Equatorial Guinea he killed his uncle to become
what's
president.
The name? I forgot his name.
Ngwemo.
No. Obiang.
Okay,
Obiang. If you also look at Ouattara in Cote d'Ivoire, he just won another term in 2020. So you see these people
Dennis Sassou Nguesso in Congo.
Yes, you see these people continue to want to remain in power.
You also have in Togo.
Now, look at what that has done. Because somebody can argue and say, okay, it's not just about age. And the calculation of leadership in terms of age is different from what the calendar says about you. This is what I mean. You can see a Donald Trump, for example, a 79-year-old man who's going to turn 80 by June. And you can say, but Donald Trump is an old man. But what is the life expectancy in America? Life expectancy in America is 79. So when Donald Trump turns 80, it means that it's 1 year older than his life expectancy. What is the life expectancy in Nigeria? We talked about, you talked about it before. 54. It's 54. Your president is 73.
Aye.
Now, let's even put it, because women live longer than men, averagely at 55. If we put it averagely in Nigeria at 55, and your president is 73, it means that your president is 18 years older than the life expectancy. That is what we talk about. And when you look at even the king was King Charles, is around 77. Life expectancy there is over 80. So what we need to do rather than worry about the age, is that people that are in power must work on better life for the people so that you can rule at 100 if you want to rule. But life expectancy will allow you.
All of us to also be alive. Uche is on the line. Uche, thanks for joining us. Uche, I don't know what your age is, but you might want to share with us if you deem fit. Go ahead.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Uche.
My brother Benga, I need an apology. You people will invite us to call. We will call and call. Nobody will pick the call.
We are so sorry. We apologize. We'll do better going forward.
For us.
Uche, if I was the one that was speaking the call, I'll pick it immediately. Let's apportion the blame to who deserves the blame. It's my or why that I did not pick the call on time.
Things are coming down.
Anyway, go on.
The analyst said that the prices of things are coming down. Who took the prices up there? Who took the prices up there? Is it not the party is talking about? Is it not the government is talking about that took the prices of goods up there? When this administration came in, what was the price of goods? That is the question we're asking. You see, a political party being APC, then we are talking about PDP. I'm not a member of PDP. How many years down the line? The prices of dollar when PDP was in power was 170 or 190. Today, you are talking about 1,400 and they are saying it's coming down. It's a pity. That is Nigeria for us. God bless you people.
Okay, he's doing an analysis.
Yeah, but I think he didn't understand that part where I said when you measure the government with the administration with itself, not with another administration.
Okay, yeah. Yes, but let's go into this very important one. I'm wondering why it's not in other newspapers. It's on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. Suspected Lakura bandits attack some communities in the Arewa local government of Kebbi State. 34 Nigerians killed. The incident occurred in Kangiwa town, and another incident occurred on Wednesday targeting several villages, leaving families devastated. Since the Christmas Day bombings, and yesterday Al Jazeera came up with a piece, and also Mr. Sunday Dare was so happy to tout the partnership with Nigeria that we converted what was meant to be a confrontation with the United States into a partnership. We are now working hand in hand in dealing with insecurity. But if you follow the trajectory since that Christmas Day bombings to today, we've seen an uptick. And at what point, Nigerians have a right to question. 34 lives is a lot. Every other week is either they're kidnapping or Nigerians are dying. You know, the president is coming out to say he's satisfied with the NSA's job, he's doing a good job. It's almost like security in Nigeria is meant to, it's like we're managing the optics for the Americans as long as we're not in their bad book. Regardless of how many people are dying, nobody talks about it. It's not keeping Nigerians safe for Nigerians, for Nigerian lives. It's for, okay, are we in the good books of America? Because, I mean, in what world would people be dying in these numbers week on week? And we're going about it like it's normal, and the heads are not rolling, people are not held responsible, we're just meant to, you know, we've been desensitized and move away from it. And Representative Riley Moore in the United States, who's been so quick to point to Christian genocide, he didn't mention this. If it happened in a Christian community, he would have tweeted about it, he would have said something. And I wonder why. Is it because the victims are Muslims? And this should not be so. Any Nigerian life is important. 34 people were killed in Kebbi State in the last few days, and we're moving on. Like nothing happened.
My major fear is, I fear that we've got a point where the number does not make any significant impact on our mind. And it's dangerous. It's a dangerous state that we've gone to. We've got to. Either we've gotten used to it, or the government has gotten used to it. Whichever way, it's not going to lead us to a good place. And I've said it repeatedly, that when government comes out to celebrate victory over terror, I keep asking myself, do we really understand what terrorism is all about? It's not a fight of deadline. It's that of consistency. You are not going to say, oh, you won on Christmas Day. that you are going to go on break on New Year Day. Consistently, you have to be able to, and the best way to do it is to rally the community member against insecurity. And the best way to rally community members against insecurity is to make them believe in your government. So what we're saying by extension is that we can fight insecurity by making the people to believe in their government. And the best way to make the people to believe in their government is for you to come across as that you are working for them. As it is now, there's a huge gap between what the government is saying and what the people are hearing. And that's why anything you say that looks pro-government, they come out to attack you quickly. Why? It's not about what you said. It's about the internally generated data in the head of the people that the government is consistently against them. So how do we solve this problem? And I think it's beyond, oh, my administration is building road. I said there was something that happened in 2020 during NSAS. Some group of young men were going to destroy, I don't know where they were going, and police was trying to engage them. You know the way the Nigerian police will react to. Then an Air Force officer was in the scene. He came with his boys, and he spoke to these guys, and he told the police people to be going in the front, that they should use his own vehicle as a buffer between the mobbing crowd and the police. And it became back and forth. Do you know that these people that were going to destroy whatever it is they were going to destroy, they turned back one after the other? It's a video. If you Google it, you will see it.
Based on the intervention of the Air Force. Based on the
intervention of the officer. That tells you that what Nigerians need is inspirational leadership. That will show to them that, oh, we're actually working for them.
So the president hasn't spoken to Nigeria. He hasn't addressed Nigerians since December. Until now.
Yes,
is that part of it?
Beyond even speaking, in political communication, how the people perceive what you say is more important than what you say. So beyond even speaking, are you talking politics, or are you speaking to the ears of the people or their soul?
Anyway, let's take Sam from PH. Sam, good morning.
Good morning.
All right.
The react of the killing in Kebbi State, 34. It's not a welcome development. And I want to appeal to our president. He's talking about 2020. He's talking about 2027 election. Before he talk about 2027 election, let him make sure that the life of Nigeria, we are same. We voted for him and we need his protection as a president. He's the father of all nations. The way they are killing Nigeria on daily basis is not good. It's condemnable. The government also, they are collecting security votes. Just make sure that they are very upset. They are all safe. Thank you and God bless you people.
All right. That's, you could tell the pain in his voice.
It seems we're more focused on politics in 2027.
I mean, Abuja tomorrow would be heavily secured because they have to secure the ballot, and that will be a test drive. Let's go to Daily Independence. Like
16,000 policemen on for municipal elections.
Elections.
Well,
so
bandits are kidnapping and killing Nigerians.
We don't have over 16,000 police. Have we even heard in the news that IGP deploys 17,000 police officers to guard the Lokoja,
or to flush out some forest,
or to forest guards? I mean, anyway. Let's take this final story. We have 3 minutes to go. Daily Independent. This one is one I think you should react to. Rivers lawmakers withdraw impeachment move against Governor Sim Fubara and his deputy.
One of the biggest, let me use the word, backlash I received on this program was from this story. When I left here, after I talked about, hey, buru, buru. But the truth is that this has shown that politics is not about emotion. And one of the reasons why they ride over our head is because they know that we are extremely emotional. When I gauge, I was in Rivers, I told you, when I gauge the pulse of the people, I saw that the ordinary people on the street, they are in full support of Fubara. But when I gauge the politics of Rivers, the politics of Rivers is in the grip hand of Wike. And philosophically, if you trace it backward, anytime there's a clash between the people of the land and the politics of the land always prevails and triumphs. Why? Because there's never been a single election in Nigeria where 50% of eligible people go out to vote. As long as you have ridiculous number of people going out to vote, one person somewhere will control their vote, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. I said it then, and I'm going to say it again, that there are people I call political portables that you cannot fight and win in public places. And I caution the governor of Rivers, if you remember, that going to say, if you want to follow Tinubu, don't follow Kona, it's not the way forward. Because you have not got the power. You should know how to manage. Leadership is about managing. Leadership is about cautioning. Leadership is about tolerating.
I think the first thing he needs to do, follow your advice, is to first sack those band members. I mean, they're the ones that used to inspire.
He has sacked all his commissioners.
Okay, in the first place.
And it seems like it's like the agreement, the new agreement.
Yes, in the first place, sir. Truth be told, in the first place. The first step that Fubara took, that I knew that Baba didn't understand this game very well, was the fact that he went to appoint commissioner. You don't even need commissioners. You don't need a House of Assembly approval to have essays, that's special assistant, and senior special assistant. Put those guys on the street. You can have as many as 120. Let them do your political run. Use the civil servant,
the permanent secretaries,
to run the ministry.
Just like we saw a member of Fubara team who appointed 100 and something.
Yes, I remember that guy. So, what the people of Rivers want is peace, and I hope they've got the peace that they want. Peace that will translate into development. I'm not saying peace that will translate into the resources of government going into the pocket of one person, but peace that will translate into better life for Rivers people. That's what I pray for them.
Okay. Well, that does it.
So, does this also, I mean, does it mean no more drama in Rivers State? For the foreseeable future?
Foreseeable future, you see, the greatest beneficiary of what's happening in Rivers is President Tinubu. That is the great, and that's why we always come and pacify everybody, just calm down. What will happen is that they will do the presidential election first. If by chance, because Wike has offended a lot of people, both within PDP and within APC. Now, if those people are coming after him now by giving Fubara the second-term ticket, what he will do, which is the reason why I think they are keeping PDP alive, they don't want to crush the party and kill it, is what he will likely do, this political prophecy, is that he will get another person, put him under PDP. By then you will have seen that miraculously the crisis in PDP, because you want to flush out some people. Solved. They will go out now. They are you are hearing their talk about ADC. All of them will go out. Then peace will return to PDP. So if they give Fubara the ticket, the governorship ticket, he will now raise another person from PDP. And President Tinubu will be doing like this, will be watching. You know why? Because it will mean that both PDP and APC will work for him. He will win his election because they will do his election first. After winning his election,
you'll be on your own. But seriously, why can't we just, I mean, and it's waste of time, productivity, why can't we have all the elections in one day as part of this electoral reforms?
So
why
reduce
do you
the
have
873 billion?
Yes, you need to reduce money. Is it not just one extra ballot paper that you print?
The solution is not even.
Or is it the counting that is?
No, the solution is you can curb this theft and all those things.
And all these demonic scheming.
Exactly. Do you want to know the reforms that is needed? We don't even, we have money. That 80-something billion. If we spend 10 trillion to get credible election, it's not too much because everybody has pointed to election as a problem. But let me tell you that the reforms that Nigerians may not know, people in authority know, but they will never do, is that don't leave it to INEC discretion to put presidential election first. Once you put presidential election first, you have rigged the other election tactically. Because in politics, whosoever becomes the president dictates the direction of the other votes.
True. So everybody do everything.
No, don't let us do everything. Start from House of Assembly, sir. You will see we have 80 political parties now. Most names you don't get to know. Yeah. You will see that when you start from the lowest, you will see all of these political parties will have the capacity to win election. Then do governorship. You will see that this winner takes all will naturally die. People in power know this, but they will never practice it. You see that reform?
And nobody is talking about it.
Nobody is talking about it.
Focus on electronic transmission.
Actually, everybody knows. See, this thing is a game changer. It's a game changer.
That's a good strategy.
Yes.
Thank you so much. That's why we always have you here. Just read the final comment. Someone said, yes, the analyst is now speaking like a patriotic Nigerian.
Hey,
baby. Kudos. No, he said kudos. Kudos. On that note, we want to say thank you so much for joining us on Breakfast Session. It's been a fantastic week. We'll see you again on Monday.
And Olive will be back on Monday from our national standing.
By the way. Thanks for watching.
And I think Have a fantastic weekend.